Okay, we're going live. Let's see what happens here. Oh, and I can pull it up on my phone to see if we're live. Yeah, 6:56. Where is Facebook?
Our households where people.
Okay, we're live on Facebook. Yes, we are. Grand Rising. Thank you for joining us this morning. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Yay!
Until showtime.
We've got 4 minutes until showtime, so we'll just do a little chat here. How was your weekend?
It was really nice.
Enough?
Yeah, it was really nice. We spent a lot of time with our puppy. So.
Oh, what kind of puppy do you have?
She's a hound mix.
And it's a girl.
Yeah.
Yay.
She's going to be 11 months tomorrow, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You celebrate dog birthdays? I never thought of that.
I mean, I'm a crazy dog lady, so for me, I'm like, happy birthday, baby.
Oh. And does she know that it's a special day for her?
For her 1 year coming up in June, we're going to see if we can find those puppy muffins that they make. You've seen it online. We're going to see if we can find a puppy baking recipe.
Really?
Yeah.
So they eat pretty much a lot of the foods that we eat.
They can.
And they also get diseases like we get too. I had no idea. I live in a high rise, and across the street there's a lot of dogs in this building. There's a lot of dogs next door too. But there's one guy, I haven't seen him in a while. His dog is she's on the ground. I don't know what that dog is called, but she's big and heavy.
Sweet lady.
Walks so slow. I don't know a lot about dogs, but that dog has got to be sick. I have never seen a dog walk that slow. Dogs are usually.
Yeah. Well, now with the food that we're giving them, they can live into their mid-teens.
Oh.
Depending on the size of the dog. The larger dogs are somewhere between 8 and 12 years if you're lucky. Smaller dogs can go into their late teens.
Really?
Yeah. So it's possible that the dog you're seeing doesn't look old, but is on the older side.
Oh, okay. Something new every day. I know nothing about dogs, but I do know that they have issues in their tissues like we do.
Definitely.
Okay. Oh yeah, we are side by side, even though we're up and down here. Yeah, I'm looking at it on my phone, and we are side by side. Oh, that's right. I need to start the show off. I always forget to do Instagram, and let me get my promos ready. So busy chatting here. And I usually, let me find my promo. Promo. There we go. This promo, where's my intro? Intro. Okay, come on, intro.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds.
Live in 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1. Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talent, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Zdravstvucie. In Germany, Guten Tag. Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Asen Wasara. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Paleo. In South Africa, Sabona. Nangade. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with ZeldaSpeaks for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Monday, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit ZeldaSpeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on higher learning with Zelda Speaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
Grand Rising. And thank you so much for joining us today. Grand Rising, and thank you for joining us this morning on The Female Solution. Welcome to Monday Morning Mindfulness. We're just here to start your week off with the Mindfulness Stress Relief Session. I'm your host, ZeldaSpeaks of The Female Solution. And I'm sorry for turning my head from the screen, but the sun is coming up, and I just love to see the sun coming up. You can join us live this morning on Facebook.com/ZeldaSpeaks. And today we have a very special guest, and that would be Dr. CJ Mimee of VelonaHealth.com. So stay close. You'll be glad you did. And coming up, I've got lots of information for you. I usually have traffic, but not today. But in the meantime, in between time, say good morning to Dr. CJ. Can I call you Dr. CJ?
Yeah, you can just call me CJ, but that's fine.
Okay, CJ. Thank you so much, CJ. If you are starting your Memorial Day weekend out today, well, guess what? You may or may not be able to go to the beach depending on where you live. So don't say I told you to go anywhere. I see people flocking. I saw something on the news yesterday. There was so many people outside at a water park, you couldn't see the water. There were and it's, if you turn on the news this morning, it's there. I'm like, okay, well, to each his own. Anyway, let me not be judged. I am the queen of judging, so I am trying to dethrone myself of that queendom right about now. Happy Earth Day, birthday, born day, if you're celebrating a birthday. Let us keep in mind those who are sick and shut in, and the families that are affected by COVID-19, as well as the first responders who are putting their lives on the lines for taking care of the general public. So let us take a moment of silence and just say thank you. And say thank you as you walk out in the sun today, that you have the freedom to walk out, because someone somewhere is unable to do that. A very special thanks to my cousin. Hattie Frierson Johnson Knox. I don't know. She's been married so many times. I don't know what her last name is. I just say cousin Hattie. Okay. She lives out near Cicero, and just want to thank her for calling me at the last minute yesterday to do a drive-through Memorial Day weekend. She says, just bring your Tupperware, girl, and come on over here and get you a plate. I was like, really? Because I was just at McDonald's, too lazy to cook. Tony didn't feel like cooking. So I went to McDonald's to get a breakfast. I wanted some pancakes. I get there and it's at 1:30. I very seldom eat breakfast. I get there. I'm like, sorry, we can't. I'm like, what do you mean you have no pancakes? Don't you see my mouth watering, salivating for pancakes? She didn't believe me and I didn't believe her. So I'm standing there trying to figure out, I was like, I do not want a hamburger and fries. I don't want anything, but let me go home. I get home and the phone rings again, come and get you a plate. So thank you, cousin Hattie. If you are thinking about your sexuality and how did that change from eating to sex? Well, if you tuned in last night, you would have heard the blogtalkradio.com the female solution, and they were talking about transforming our sexuality part 2. Can you believe that, CJ?
It's important.
Last week was so hot and heavy, they had to come back and Viata, our host, Viata Robinson, had to come back and do a part 2, off the chain. You can go and see it. It's in the archives, blogtalkradio.com, the female solution. And that is called Transforming Our Sexuality Part 2. Now, as you may have noticed, some of the churches have already opened this weekend, and there's a lot of going on about whether or not you should or should not attend. I'm looking at the news this morning, and people are very unhappy. The capacity is supposed to be 10, but the pastors are not happy with that. Of course they wouldn't be. But of course, Dr. Willie Wilson was on the scene at Metro Praise International Church, passing out free masks. He has a medical equipment, medical supply. Thank you, sweetie. A medical supply company, and he's passed out over 5 million now or something like that. So kudos to Dr. Willie Wilson and the people at Metro Praise International Church. And for those churches that are being fined, they're being fined, CJ, right?
Oh.
Yeah, for being open. Dr. Willie Wilson says he will pay up to $1 million if they are fined. So each his own. Okay. The mayor has decided to reopen Chicago in phase 3. And that says that the gyms are opening, but they're only outdoors. That's no fun. My gym's on the inside, so I don't know how that's going to work. I just been walking outside. I walked a good little piece yesterday, didn't I? I walked with my hubby, so thank you very much. But I'm just lazy. I just like going downstairs to the gym, but I do appreciate the sun. Let the sun know I appreciate that. Okay. If you are, I can't read my own handwriting here. Nails and hair salons, just be careful because there's not a whole lot of social distancing there. If you're listening online, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're on Facebook Live, facebook.com, ZeldaSpeaks. Be sure and check out my blog, ZeldaRobinsonSpeaks.blogspot.com, and our Higher Learning TV show YouTube channel. And it's called the Higher Learning TV show channel. So be sure to check that out. Oh, and are you a gardener or a farmer, CJ?
I don't know how you saw straight through me. I'm a crazy plant lady.
Oh, that's right. We share plants. Yes, we're both crazy plants lady. So I'm working on getting to become at-home gardener.
Nice.
I'm working on that. Thanks to Naima Latif, the executive producer of The Female Solution, who has produced a pandemic garden. Can you believe that?
Oh, it sounds amazing.
Garden. Let me tell you what it means. Pandemic. Producing agricultural nourishment, developing economic, making independent communities. Can't understand my own handwriting. But that's pandemic. And it's sponsored by the Female Solution radio show in conjunction with Beacon Light Ministries and Green Oasis. And you can see it on our Facebook page live today from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. How to grow food. Everybody needs to know how to grow food, right? Because when we go to the grocery stores, it is chaos. Every time I go to the store, I don't know about you, CJ, but when I go to the store, I see people in line and I keep going.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm one of the crazy people that goes right when they open at 6 a.m.
Yes.
And I've got my list according to the sections of the grocery store. So just go zoom through.
Yes, I can tell you want to be organized. Yes. Go there with a list, be there when the door, because most people are just not going to come at 6 a.m. Just. And if you're a senior, which I know you're not, they have, they open up the doors an hour early, like Costco, stuff like that. And I've yet to get there. I can get up and do a radio show at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I can't get to the store by 8. So, what can I say? Anyway, there's no traffic today because nobody's, everybody's at home chilling or going to somebody's house, and it's just not a lot of traffic. So there are no updates, but I saw this on the news this morning. There's an earthquake in New Zealand.
Oh no.
New Zealand? Isn't that near down under, like Australia on the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always wanted to go there, but that won't happen today. But anyway, no traffic, but I do have weather sponsored by Karen Kelly of itex.com. That's ITEX. If you are in the business, if you're an entrepreneur or what's the word I'm looking for? Entrepreneur or artiste or business owner, you can go to itex.com and sign up and get $100 shopping on the site, and it doesn't cost you anything to join. And that's just a bonus from me. And all you have to do is sign up. When you sign up, just put the promo code in Zelda. That's ZELDA. Everybody knows why I say Zelda, thanks to Richard Peggy. But I will give you a weather update, and it is nice and hot already. It's already 73 degrees. Isolated chance of showers today. High about 89 degrees. And this is a typical high for summer. Well, official summer, 73 degrees. But guess what? It's snowing in Colorado. So I am most happy to be here in Chicago today. So grab your summer clothes, your hat, your galoshes, and all that good stuff as you go out. Okay. For its weather and traffic is sponsored by Karen Kelly of itex.com. Business owners and entrepreneurs, you can go shopping and not pay a dime. So just remember to use that promo code ZELDA. And if you're a diabetic, and I know if you know someone, there is a website you've got to go to, diabeticdonut.com. Not everyone knows my story of how I reversed type 2 diabetes, drinking the most horrible drink in the world, but I've learned to appreciate it. Apple, beet, cucumber, lemon, ginger, kale, turmeric. And I drink that every day, and diabetes is gone. Doesn't taste good, but it sure does feel good.
Congratulations.
And helps too. And last but not least, remember to set those DVRs for the Higher Learning Network TV show, which airs Tuesdays at 6 p.m., Wednesdays at 1 p.m. on Channel 19. And now it is time for our spiritual reading of the day, May 25th, taken from Inspirational Conversations, aka Shalom with Israel. And it says, life is like a good deodorant. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes your secret isn't your secret. The biggest secret in the world isn't really a secret because somebody, somewhere, some way, somehow knows about it. Can you believe that? So refresh, review, and renew. And don't stop being who you are. It'll take you a long way in either direction, but be sure you know where you really want to go. Inspirational Conversations with Shalom with Israel, aka ZeldaSpeaks, available at ZeldaSpeaks.com. And I'll send you a big squeeze hug with it. Proceeds benefit the Higher Learning Network TV show, where we teach youth behind the scenes radio, television, and print production, and which we will be doing from a screen like this coming up in the near future, because we, TV and radio is hands-on. We got to touch people. We got to touch things. So we're going to do that online. But it is 7:15, and you know what that means? It's time for our Monday morning mindfulness meditation session. So what we're going to do is start breathing. So this is something that you can practice at home. We'll only do 5 minutes because I want to get Dr. CJ on so she can tell us about this wonderful science that we're going to talk about today, therapy as well as neuroscience, in which I know nothing about, but I am open and receptive to learning. And I hope that you are open and receptive to learning today too. As we begin our breathing process, we simply inhale through the nose, hold it, and exhale. And what I want you to do is to close your eyes. You should not be looking at me. You should only be looking at the inside of your eyelids, okay? So close your eyes and count to 5 to yourself. Inhale to the count of 5, hold it, and release it. So sitting up straight, feet flat on the floor, nothing in your hands, nothing in your lap, and nothing in your heart but love and life and laughter. As we breathe in, count of 5, breathe in. Hold it. And exhale. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Concentrating on the breath as you inhale and exhale. Know that the mind will wander, and that's okay, because that's what the mind does. And when you find the mind wandering to your to-do list of what you're going to eat later, just simply say to yourself out loud, thinking, and go back to that breath as you inhale deeply. And exhale. And as we inhale, excuse me, and exhale, we give thanks for the power of the breath. Because we know that someone somewhere is unable to breathe on their own. We give thanks for the breath of life that travels from the top of our head down through our face, our shoulders, our solar plexus as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, continuing to send the energy down through our sides, our hips, our thighs, our knees. Oh, yes, those glorious knees that keep us moving. As we continue to send the energy down through the legs, the ankles, the ball of the feet, the heel, the arch, and the instep. And those toes, yes, wiggle those toes, sending that energy back up through the ankles as we inhale deeply. Bringing that energy back up through the legs and the knees and the thighs and the buttocks and the back. As we continue to breathe in and breathe out, giving thanks as the energy continues to come back up through the chest and the shoulders and the neck as we breathe in. Continuing to sending that energy back up to the top of the head, chakras. And as that energy continues to flow as we breathe in, and as we breathe out. As we breathe in, we give thanks for the power of the 2 most powerful words on the planet. And those words are, I am. As we breathe in, I am happy. I am healthy. I am whole and complete. Feel free to say it to yourself or out loud. The universe is listening. As we breathe in, I am happy. I am healthy. I am whole and complete. I can see the smile on your face. Once more, as we breathe in, I am pure love. I am light. I am eternal. As I give thanks for this breath, I give thanks knowing that all I need at any given point in time in life, when I am confronted with chaos or confusion or anxiety or stress, I simply breathe in and breathe out. Because I know that this is a practice that will keep me centered, as it sends a message to all of my bodily organs, beginning with my heart, liver, lungs, spleen, and spine. As I breathe in, I give thanks that I have blessed each and every organ in my body, from the brain on down, knowing that the signals that this breath is sending the trillions of cells in my body good messages to do good things today, to slow things down no matter what chaos or confusion is going on in the world. As we breathe in and as we breathe out, we give thanks for love, light, and energy. We give thanks for all the systems that are working in the body that we do not or may not even be aware of: the digestive system, the assimilation system, and most importantly, the elimination system. As we breathe in and as we breathe out. One more long, deep breath. Inhale deeply. And with this long, last, deep inhale, you will inhale deeply. Hold it. And as we exhale, bring your head forward, chin to chest, and slowly rotate your head to the left, slowly, sitting up straight so you don't get a crook in your back. Slowly bringing your head around to the back, slowly, 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 slowly bringing it around to the right, slowly, slowly, and slowly bring it back around to the front, chin to chest, head up, take a long deep breath. And exhale, bringing your chin to chest and slowly rotating the head to the right, slowly, slowly, still breathing, slowly just be getting to the back, and slowly bringing that head around to the front, slowly, not there yet, still breathing. Inhale deeply, head up. And as you exhale, look to your left as far as you can, feeling the stretch in the right of your neck. Bringing your head back forward. Inhale deeply. And exhale, turning your head to the right as far as you can, feeling the stretch in the left of your neck. And bringing the head back. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just activated the happiness gene. Yay! You have sent your body trillions of messages just through your breath that today is a good day. And if you practice that on a daily basis, guess what? You will become accustomed to it. So, if you're in the midst of madness and you just start breathing and people start looking at you like you're crazy, that's okay. Just breathe. And if they come up in your circle and you're not ready to participate, like the social distancing, have a little garlic or a little onion on your breath and just start breathing. And I promise you they will go away. Yes, they will. So tell me, Dr. CJ, I see you're laughing. How does that make you feel this morning?
I am crazy excited. I was trying to hold myself together and I'm like, so the deep breathing is a perfect example of both the orthopedic and the neuroscience. Like actually, and say it again.
How so?
So on the orthopedic side, so if you think of mechanically, right? So the body itself, when you take deep, deep breaths, especially if you're encouraging your breath to go out through the sides of the body and not just straight up, you're actually getting your ribs to separate from each other slowly, which helps to get mobility in your middle back and in your low back. Yeah.
Wow.
On the neuroscience side, so that's like the mechanical orthopedic stuff, right? So you can stretch your back all you want, but unless the ribs also move, we're going to have continuous stiffness building up in the back. So getting your ribs to move through the deep breathing is super helpful for that. On the neuroscience side, deep breaths, what you just said about the elimination system, deep breaths tell your nervous system, we are safe, rest, digest, everything's okay.
Really?
We catch ourselves doing super short and shallow breaths. You are secretly telling your nervous system, we are being chased by a lion. And the nervous system is going to slow down digestion. It's going to go into this hyperactive protective mode because that's what the nervous system does. It's designed to protect us. So if we're giving it those messages through those short and shallow breaths, it's going to look for every excuse and every small sensation to be like, oh my goodness, we're being cut by a knife, but maybe you just stepped on something. So your nervous system is super riled up, but doing the deep breathing helps to bring it down notches.
Wow, I didn't know that. And let me, go ahead.
No.
Let me tell you how that started. When I first started this show a couple of years ago, I wanted to add a little, my background is in broadcasting, so I come from commercial radio. And I know in order to keep the viewers' attention, you've got to break things up in segments. So I'm asking myself, what is it that I can do to really get people involved the moment that they begin the show with us? And the thought came to me just to start breathing. I was like, start breathing. People don't think I'm crazy. So I'm gonna start breathing. And as I begin to breathe, the spirit, universe, creator, whatever you want to call he, she, it, said, just listen to me. Whatever I say, that's what you said. So all of that you just experienced this morning, that was not from me. I have had no medical training. I'm not a licensed practitioner of any sort, but I do listen to the creator. That's how I wrote all the books that I have, because I listened. And I tell people I'm an author, but I'm a messenger. I didn't write those books. I listened. So thank you for sharing that this morning. And for our listeners and viewers who just tuned in, they need to know just a little bit more about you and who you are and how you came to be with BellonaHealth.com.
Of course. I got so excited about the breathing. I was like, oh, we have to talk about this.
Great.
So my name is CJ Mimee. I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I just moved to Chicago in September and knew that I wanted to be out of the big bustling PT mill type world. So I opened up my own clinic, and it's named Bellona Health because we're looking at the whole body at the same time, which doesn't sound, it sounds like it should be something you do in every clinic, but in our clinic in particular, we take care of the entire person at the same time. Because, so if you go somewhere else, I shouldn't be saying that maybe on radio, but they will limit you and make you choose one joint at a time. And my ethics are super strong, and that is not okay with me because two things happen if you pick one joint at a time, right? So shoulder and neck are my favorite example to use. The shoulder and the neck on one side, 18 muscles touch both the shoulder and the neck and attach them together on just one side. Thank you. See, it's crazy. It's such a small space, and they're 18 on this side, another 18 on the other side. So of course, if your shoulder's angry or if your neck is angry, the other one is going to also speak at some point. So as a patient, how can we expect you to decide, am I treating my shoulder or am I treating my neck in physical therapy? So we take care of the whole body at the same time, because to take care of one joint at a time, one of two things happens, right? So either you put a Band-Aid on the situation, then it will come back later, or you chase it out of that joint into the neighboring joint.
Okay.
So I think it is important that we take care of the whole person at the same time.
What would that look like, a Band-Aid on the situation? What would that look like?
So that would look like doing manual therapy, whether it's massage, mobilizations, any kind of physical treatment to one joint. So restricting it only to the shoulder. and neglecting taking care of the entire line of the muscle that goes from one to the other.
Okay.
Doing exercises only for the shoulder and not addressing, the stability of the neck, the mobility of the neck, of what you just did with the breathing exercises. So taking care of the whole system, essentially.
Okay. I'm so glad you said that, because I had an experience with a shoulder issue. This shoulder, I couldn't lift it. I couldn't do anything with it. Just woke up one morning and it just wouldn't move. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that when I come back. But right now, it is 7:31. We have a commercial break at 7:30. So you stay close and we will be right back with you. Ooh.
Smuggled away in chains and held captive in a foreign land where they are tortured, raped, and forced to perform hard labor by the lash of a whip, threat of death. Slavery, the African American psychic trauma. What happened to the doctors, writers, scientists, builders, educators, and spiritual leaders from Africa's golden age? Who did they really capture and sell as slaves? Are all African Americans suffering from psychic trauma because of a conspiracy to hide their true identity? Do you have psychic trauma? Take the test on page 22 of the book and see. Order it online today at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com and get your personally autographed copy of the book, Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma. You are tuned in to the Soulful Chicago Book Fair 2020 Vision Fundraising Campaign. That's right. Support the vision of reviving Black literary excellence in this city by simply taking your $20 or more and donating it on our website. Visit www.soulfulchicagobookfair.com and click the Donate tab on our homepage, or give us a call at 646-359-6605, and we welcome you, helping us breathe literary life into the South Side of Chicago.
Are you constantly arguing with your spouse? Are your children misbehaving and acting out? Is someone in your family abusing drugs? Have you been the victim of domestic violence? Are you grieving over the loss of a loved one? Let us help you restore serenity to your life. At Serenity Family Social Services, we understand that good mental health is a result of emotional well-being. Our goal is to assist you and your family in removing emotional distress and restoring harmony and balance to your lives. We offer individual, couples, and family counseling. I'm Howard Williams, CEO of Serenity Family Social Services. Call us today at 312-315-4820. That's 312-315-4820.
Grand Rising, and thank you for joining us back here on The Female Solution. Welcome to Monday Morning Mindfulness. And we are joined today by Dr. CJ. And as soon as I can find my glasses, I can't see. Okay, come on down. The price is right. Where did I go? There it is. Thank you, Naima. Thank you for joining us back here on The Female Solution. Welcome to Monday Morning Mindfulness. I'm your host, ZeldaSpeaks. Be sure and tune in tomorrow. Let's talk about it with Maika. And that's all on blogtalkradio.com, The Female Solution. On Wednesday, Naima Latif and Kareem Hamid, Repairing Family Relationships. On Thursday, Family Matters with Wendy City Deloach, Esquire. And on Friday, Health and Wellness with Viata. And on Saturday, we have rotating guests from Deborah. On Move Around with Deborah, we also have MamaDee, Wisdom with MamaDee, as well as, she's gonna kill me, I forgot her name and I didn't write it down, but I'm sure she'll call me and tell me. But check us out on blogtalkradio.com, The Female Solution. Love, Joy, Empowers, that's her name, Love, Joy, Empowers, on The Female Solution. And also The Female Solution page on Facebook. It's The Female Solution with Executive Director Naima Latif, who will be doing the Pandemic Garden from 11 a.m. to 1 today. So be sure to check that out on Facebook as well. Right now, we have our very own Dr. CJ Mimee right here on the Female Solution show. And today we're talking about orthopedic manual therapy and neuroscience. And before we went to break, CJ, we talked about where all this tension comes from in the neck. And as I was saying before we went to break, look how I can move now. I love therapy. I love therapy. My therapist, who has left Chicago, she was sick of Chicago. Her name was Lauren Daughtery. And Lauren was about this big and about that wide, but she had the most powerful hands, and she got it moving. I couldn't do anything. So you can see, I know therapy works. You were talking about how therapy, I never thought of it as orthopedic therapy, and I have an orthopedic surgeon and therapist. So I am just in love with this. So I'm going to shut up and just let you tell the story because I know you know. Oh, if you're listening this morning, you want to join in the conversation, 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak if you have questions for Dr. CJ.
And always happy to talk shop and answer questions if anybody has at some point. I get really excited about these things. So sometimes I go into a rabbit hole of like, this is connected to that and that's connected to that. And it affects away. Which is helpful because I'm having my own clinic now. I'm able to offer free evaluations. So I just want to talk about these things. So when you invited me, I was like, are you kidding? For real, Zelda? Thank you.
Yeah.
So we were talking about orthopedic and neuroscience put together, right? So shoulder and neck is probably one of the easier examples to use for how neuroscience and orthopedic PT overlap. Because the shoulder is not just, needs to be strengthened. And it's not just how much you can move it, but it's the quality of the movement. Oh. So it's how is your brain connected to the muscles, and how does your brain time the firing of like, oh, okay, let me contract this muscle about 50%, but I need the other muscle at 30%, and how quickly it does each of those things in what coordination to allow for smooth motion up, smooth motion down. So if you're picking something up off the shelf, but you don't have that coordination, that's where eventually you're going to end up with pain because that smoothness is not there. So you might have the strength. Like in isolation, if we test you, you might be super strong. But if that coordination is missing, then that's where we're going to have to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as we age, we have a tendency to stiffen up.
Right. So
we're not moving as much.
Right.
What can we do at home?
So mobility is very much a use it or lose it situation. You can get it back, and that's going to involve not just the orthopedic, but also the neuroscience, right? So you're bringing up really good examples, and we totally didn't plan this. So thank you. I don't know how you're doing it. So I love it. Just like secretly knows, like connected. So if we're stiff for a long period of time, I hesitate to use the word age. I don't think anybody really gets old until they get to like 87. And then I'm like, maybe you can have the old card for a little bit. At 92, I'm like, okay, you can use it. You can do whatever you want with your old card. So anyway, as we mature and we use our bodies, the stiffness that settles in becomes our new normal. So the nervous system is looking at it saying, well, this is how we are. So to get into more mobility and to give yourself more flexibility and mobility, it's tempting to like crank into positions, but we can't get revenge on our body. And if we crank into something, the nervous system can actually override our intellectual brain. So our nervous system can sit there and be like, you know what, I really don't trust what CJ is doing right now. We need to protect ourselves and tighten up more. So how do we get around that? We get around that by going through comfortable ranges of motion in repetitive movements. So the example I like to give in clinic is very much like, you know, when a baby's screaming and crying and they just like, they need a nap, but they can't and they need help. So you would take the baby in your arms and you very patiently and gently rock them back and forth. And eventually, you know, everybody calms down. So the nervous system is very much like rocking that baby. So if you're super stiff, you can't just go like, oh, I'm going to push into it. You have to go, okay, I'm going to walk up to that resistance, walk away from it. Walk up to that resistance, walk away from it. So rocking back and forth. Eventually, the nervous system, it's like gaining the nervous system's trust. Eventually, the nervous system is going to say, oh, maybe I can trust CJ in this aspect or in what we're doing right now. And it'll give you a little bit more motion and a little bit more motion. So if you wanted 30 degrees, you're not necessarily going to get all 30 at once. You might only get 2 or 3 this time. Then you try it again later, you get another 2 or 3. Eventually it adds up to whatever it is you're looking for. Also, before we get too far from the subject, in terms of use it or lose it, mobility is not something that you can do like 30 repetitions at one part of the day and then be like, oh, I did my mobility stuff for the day, I'm good. It's actually better to do smaller repetitions throughout the day. So if you can build it into your daily routine of like, oh, you know, when I wait for my coffee to brew, I do these movements. When I brush my teeth, I do these other movements. Attaching it to something you already do in the day is a good way of remembering to do it, first of all, but also it doesn't become a chore.
Right.
So it is very much like use it throughout the day.
I'm glad you said that because that's one of the things that my orthopedist recommended is like when I'm at the kitchen washing the dishes, or if I'm waiting on my water to boil to make some tea, or if I'm waiting on the elevator, is I had to do,
with your toes?
On my toes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. To strengthen my ankle. So whenever I'm waiting at an elevator, I don't want the elevator to necessarily come in a hurry so I can stand there and get my exercises in. And sometimes the doors would open and I'm still doing it because I'm trying to get a certain account. People are looking at me, what lady, what are you waiting on? Get in the elevator. You're here. And I was like, oh, sorry, I was doing my exercise. And then I explained it to them and they understand.
Love it.
Understand, I don't care. Also, one of the balancing, there's a wooden board that I had to stand on. And I had to rock from side to side. And I'm like, why are they having me stand on this doggone board? What am I going to do? And as I begin to do it, I learned in very small increments, like the set of 12 here, go sit down. When I sit down, do something else, come back and do another set of 12. So I know what you speak of to be true because we want to get it all out the way. But like you said, make it a part of it. So yeah. That makes all the difference in the world. So thank you so much for sharing that bit of information because like I said, I love therapy. It's like, I can move. I can go to therapy every day. It's like, no, hon, your insurance only carries so much. So you got to go. You can do these at home.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But I love it so much. I came home. My husband's like, what are you doing? You know, they give you give us a printout to use. I built a big old board and put each exercise and I take it to the gym with me.
That's
and
amazing.
People, nobody says anything. And even if they did, I don't care. I feel good. So that's all that matters to me.
Right. It's your body. Who cares?
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. That is so important. If you don't use it, you will lose it.
But you can get it back.
But you can get it back. You can always get it back. So are you telling me that people that we see that are on walkers and are on canes and all of that have mobility issues, no matter what their condition is, they can still get it back?
I will say for most things, there are some situations where the stiffness in the joints is because of underlying medical conditions, whether it's, rheumatoid arthritis. Sometimes when people are so far forward in their spine, their middle back becomes what we call like rigid. So it's hard to get that movement back. But we can maximize that by not necessarily forcing that one joint, but looking at the body like a whole system, what we were talking about before, and helping to get, okay, so if we can only get so much from this segment, how do we help the overall system? Well, if the middle back is super stiff and somebody's super rounded forward, you can still work on rib mobility through the deep breathing. You can still work on shoulder mobility. You can still work on lower back of hips, looking at the whole person as a system. So even though something might not move as much as we want it to, we still have the opportunity to help the overall mobility of a person and keep somebody safe, right? Because if you have stiffness in your middle back and you don't address the entire system, the neighboring joints start to also get stiff, eventually leading to risking of falls and of other, I don't like to say injuries, so of other projects is what I call them.
Oh, projects, okay. And what you just said about falls, it was explained to me that when a person falls, you hear about how seniors will fall and break their hip. I've often heard therapists as well as doctors say that the hip broke and then they fail.
Right. So both of those things can happen, especially as women age. Unfortunately, with our hormones changing, our bones are more susceptible to thinning and not being as strong, which is why weight-bearing exercises, meaning like using your body weight to do stuff, but even more than that, actually using weights to move and to do your exercises, because when we weight the bones, the body is going to allocate resources to building those bones stronger. So in our bodies, and people think of calcium, they think, oh, calcium is bone health. But actually in the list of, I think there are 8 of them from what I remember of where calcium is used in your body, bone strength is actually on the lower end. Nerve conduction, muscle contractions, all of these things, controlling the minerals or ions, what they're called, on the inside and outside of cells. They use calcium for that in like different parts of the body. So bone health is actually on the lower end. How do we get the body to keep the calcium in the bones is by using the bones. So if we don't get enough calcium in our diets, the bone, because it's on the lower end of the totem pole, if we're lacking calcium, the body is going to go to our bones and draw it out to use for those other more important reasons. So by doing strength exercises with weights, we are telling the body, no, I need the calcium in my bones.
Oh, wow.
Which is super interesting. I mean, I talk about the body like it's its own thing, but it really is. It's coordinating all of the resources and trying to make sure we're balanced.
And I'm beginning to understand that as in this journey that I'm on for health and wealth, health, which is the new wealth, and I'm learning about the energy of the body. I never, ever thought in a million years I'd be interested in anything that has to do with the body, even though I have one. You just don't, we're not taught to think on those terms. We leave that to you people, you medical professionals. When we need a checkup, we'll come see you. But no, we do need to know about this vessel that we walk around in. And I love the fact that you call it a project and not a, what did you? It's a project,
I don't use the words injury, damaged, broken, whatever people come in and say. I'm like, no, it's a project. It's not your bad side. It's your right leg. It's your left leg. It's not the bad side, good side. Because how's it supposed to get better if you label it as the bad side?
Right. Because when we speak, we're sending messages to the body unbeknownst to us, and we don't even know it. They teach us everything but that.
And that's the nervous system again. You're telling the nervous system over and over again, that side's not okay.
Yeah, and it stays that way. Wow. I'm so glad you say that, because we speak things into existence and we don't even know it, because words have wings. And what little words that we give it, it flies away and it circulates and percolates in us and wonder why we feel the way we feel. Well, Dr. CJ, you just told us why.
Right. And the other nice thing about interpreting it that way is that we're more open to the nuances of how the body is communicating with us. So when people come in, I ask them like, okay, so between last session and this session, was your body happy? Was it angry? Like what was it? So what makes your body upset? And then they'll say like, oh, stairs, I have pain on stairs. I'm like, okay, so your knee doesn't like the stairs. So it's that idea of putting emotions to the different sensations rather than just saying pain, so that we're open to receiving the information because when you go down the stairs, if your knee is cranky, then you're getting information of like, okay, my knee doesn't like that. So what does it like? So it's a back and forth, right? It's not just your body's against you. It's how do I start to learn the language of what my body's trying to tell me?
Wow. The knee doesn't like that. Do you have a camera looking at my knee up under the table? Just wondering, just happen to say knee. It's like, how did she know that? I have a knee project. How about that?
Let's talk about it.
Because I have been on a search for over a year now for, what are they called? The stem cell treatment. Okay. And when I first learned about it, I was all excited, but the more I learned about it, I'm not so excited. Do you know anything about stem cell treatment and where it comes from?
Not enough to advise any listeners on it. I've heard some like good stories, or I've met some patients that had it and loved it. I met a patient that, it was not one of mine, but one of my coworkers' patients. They essentially grew up in the lab a new cartilage that was derived from her stem cells, and they grew up this like sheath of a new cartilage. And when she went in for surgery, they essentially just cut it out and sewed it in, which is neat. So all science is really evolving and it's advancing and it's very interesting. Wow. I personally don't have enough experience, I think, to feel comfortable saying that, but I will say, go ahead.
They cut it out and put it in, so she actually had surgery.
So she did have surgery. So what they did was they took some of her stem cells and then took it to the lab and grew a sheet of her cartilage, essentially. So she didn't need a transplant from a cadaver or from somewhere else. It wasn't like a synthetically made whatever. It was her tissue, meaning that when they put it in, her body's not as likely to reject it because it recognizes it as, oh, this is me. Okay. Which is very interesting. I will say that with the knee, when I first got out of school, I was like, the knee is boring because it's such a simple joint. And then I realized, because it's such a simple joint, you really do have to look at the whole system. So when you mentioned your feet before, looking at, what's happening at the feet, because we have so much movement and take so much responsibility at the ankle, what's happening at the hip, what is happening in the trunk. The knee relies on the ankle doing its job, the hip doing its job, even the trunk of your body doing its job. Because the knee is such a simple joint, if anybody along this chain, is what we call it, is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, the knee gets the brunt of it.
Yes. I like that. I've also learned that when I don't give my body the proper movement that it needs, everything suffers. Not just the knee, the ankle, and the hip. So I get down on all fours and do my doggy style exercises. I don't know what else to call them. I'm on all fours, where you kick your leg up in the back and you do another one where you bring it up and another one on the side. And it's like, oh, I hate them with a passion, but I love the benefits. I can get up, walk, and almost run. I said almost. I'm not trying to run right now. I did that in earlier days. If you just tuned in at 7:55, we are live with Dr. CJ Mimee of Bellona Health, and we are discussing orthopedic manual therapy and neuroscience. Well, what is that? Well, if you didn't hear Dr. CJ, well, she's going to give you another brief summary of what it is and how it can help you, right, Dr. CJ?
Sure. So with orthopedic manual therapy, we're looking at bones, tendons, muscles, ligaments, kind of all of that structural stuff. So we could have a lot of strength in each joint. We can have a lot of movement in each joint. Where the neuroscience comes into play is, how do you move? How does the brain coordinate your movement, and does it know how to fire the muscles appropriately, whether it's, percentage of the strength that's available in that muscle or at the timing, right? So you could have all of the strength, but if your brain doesn't coordinate the muscles on each side of the joint, then that's where we have, deviations from that smoothness in the motion. So orthopedic manual therapy is addressing structure, and neuroscience is addressing more of that control of movement. And we need both to have a happy body.
Okay. And happy body movement. And I think we have some happy callers on the line. Do you want to take a call?
I would love to.
Let's go to 773-294. You are live on the Female Solution Grand Rising. What is your name and where you're calling from? And what's your question for Dr. CJ?
Good morning. My name is Laurel.
Laurel, can you speak a little louder?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear Dr. CJ? Barely.
A little bit, but I can come closer.
Okay.
Okay, my first question is, number one, I was wondering, well, thank you for the show, and thank you for the information. Thank you for the breathing. The first question is,
Thank you for calling.
one, how, thank you. Number one, how do you choose, and my mom, thank you, my mom, for telling me to come in this morning. Number one, how do you choose a good orthopedic physical therapist? Number one, what do you think to look out for? Number two, my question is, how do you feel about, do you all use, like, I know how they have electrical stimulation and all these other modalities. How do you feel about, do they add those in as well when they do those type of surgeries or type of therapy? I kind of lost my third question, but those are the main ones. How do you choose somebody for it to be a good orthopedic physical therapist? And then electric stimulation with the body. Oh, my third question is inflammation. When a person is highly inflamed, do you all still work on them, or do you suggest that they be out of inflammation before they can get the physical therapy?
These are excellent questions, and I promise I did not plant Laurel. Thank you for calling. This is amazing. So I'm going to go through the questions. If I miss one, please don't be shy to interrupt and say, like, actually, it was more this. So for your first question, if you go to apta.org, so that's the American PT Association.org/find a PT, they will show you, there's a list in your area, it's by zip code, and you can go through and actually see the credentials of each PT, which will then take you to the website, and then you can read through, their schooling, their line of thoughts. In physical therapy, there are a lot of different philosophies on how to treat people. What I would say is, in picking your new PT, make sure that they are good listeners. And it's totally okay to go to an appointment and be like, I'm really just scoping this out. Most clinics will do free injury screening, which is usually 15 minutes. Like, we do the full evaluation, so you get the full hour and a half, essentially, whether it's in person or by phone, or by video rather. But if you call the clinic and you say, hey, look, I'm a prospective patient, I would love to come in for an injury screening, in that 15 minutes, you will get a very good idea if the PT you've chosen from online is a good listener. And I would say, out of all of the schooling and credentials and letters that people have after their name, somebody being able to listen to you and hear your entire story so that they can get all of the puzzle pieces out on the table, you will then only then be able to put them together properly. And I'm happy to help you if you'd like to chat about it by email or phone or video, whatever it is, to help pick out that PT if you're interested. Is that okay?
And can you have your number too? Your phone number?
Okay, so my clinic phone number, which you can call, text, is 312-324-0953. And I'll start over from, okay. So it's 312-324-0953. And I can also put it up on Facebook after, if that's helpful. So that's how I would go about finding a PT. For the second question, which was the electrical stimulation and other modalities, right? So that's a tough question, I will say, because philosophically, there are different ideas of how we should be treating people. There's arguments all over the internet between PTs about, the extremes, right? Some people think you should never use these modalities, and there are some people that you go into clinic and it's an extra checkbox for insurance. Insurance isn't really covering that stuff anymore because they got the wiser that people were just checking off boxes to get more reimbursement. There are, however, certain situations. So ultrasound in the wound healing world, so there's different specialties within physical therapy. In the wound healing world, ultrasound is helpful. I would say for a normal outpatient orthopedic clinic, I'd be hesitant about the whole ultrasound thing. Electrical stimulation, to go back to your exact question, I would say is dependent on the situation. So if you have, I'll give you a couple of different examples. So if you have chronic low back pain, electrical stimulation can help as in addition to all the other things, right? So I would not use it in isolation because you're going to be putting that Band-Aid on the situation and coming back to it again and again. But it can help to, it's called gate theory in PT. So essentially distracting your body from the pain and giving you something else, a different sensation to interpret, essentially. So that's the neuroscience side of why we do things in physical therapy. In terms of the orthopedic application for electrical stimulation, if somebody is post-knee surgery, the quad muscle, so the muscle is in the front of the thigh, I call it an opportunistic muscle. So that muscle will actually, anytime the knee gets hurt, that muscle is like, you know what, this is perfect time for vacation. And it will turn down or turn off. Electrical stimulation can be helpful in keeping that muscle strong and keeping that muscle active until your brain relearns, like, oh, this is how I use that muscle in my daily life. So it's not a forever thing. It's more like a transitional thing if you need it. Your last question, please let me know if anything's confusing and you want me to go back to it. For your last question in terms of inflammation, whether or not you see PT before, while you have inflammation or afterwards. Inflammation is, so this is going to be a two-part answer, I will say. Inflammation as a concept is being a little bit overused, if it's okay to say that. We're blaming inflammation for a lot of things. Inflammation is actually a good thing because it helps you to address something that's going on in the body. Where the issue comes in is if you end up increasing inflammation, and your body doesn't take it to resolution. So inflammation is supposed to be a flag to the system. Oh, we need to fix this. Then the system comes in, cleans it out, gets rid of the inflammation, and then you move on with life. Inflammation is bad when it doesn't complete that cycle. So it doesn't take it to completion. I would say I prefer seeing patients when they're like full blown, like this is what my body is yelling about. Because that way it's easier to see, okay, what makes it better? What makes it worse? What structures are angry? How can we address the area to help bring it down? So by coming in when you are in a decent amount of discomfort, and if you can't move, you've got to come in. That is helpful because we can actually see what's going on and see what makes a difference.
Okay, and that makes all the difference in the world. Now, did that answer all of your questions, my dear? What's your name? Laurel?
Yes.
Laurel. If you would, yes. Did you want to I need you to hold on for just a moment. It's 8:04. If you just tuned in, we've got a commercial break. We're speaking with Dr. CJ Mimee of ValonaHealth.com. We're discussing orthopedic manual therapy, and I love it, neuroscience. I am learning so much, and I hope you're learning too. So stay close. We've got more information headed your way. You don't want to miss the second hour coming up.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shinsu Kim of HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
Oh man, I sent the Monday sun bill today. This sunlight is really expensive, especially during this season. I'll probably have to work overtime to pay it.
Well, you better pay it on time. We don't want the sun to go out and we're sitting up here all day in the dark.
Wouldn't it be terrible if God charged us for sunlight? Well, thank God, the light and heat from the sun is free. So why are we paying such high bills for the energy we use in our homes? Because we don't know how to use solar energy, the free energy from the sun. You can convert your regular home to a solar energy home and save tremendously on your electric bill. Take a look at your electric bill. Wouldn't you like to reduce or possibly even eliminate that cost altogether? Let one of our solar consultants show you how. Call today, 312-849-3456, and schedule a free consultation. That's 312-849-3456. Do you or your organization need space for an event? Call the Flurry Event Center at 2423 East 75th Street in Chicago. For your parties, banquets, award ceremonies, repasses, concerts, and business seminars. Available 7 days a week. Now under new management. Call us at the Flurry at 773-663-2557. That's 773-663-2557.
Grand Rising. And thank you for joining us back here on the Female Solution, How You're Learning with ZeldaSpeaks. We're just here to start your week off with the mindfulness stress relief session. And if you didn't get a chance to participate in this morning's mindfulness meditation, it's not too late. You can always go back and listen to the archives 24/7 on blogtalkradio.com, the Female Solution. We are broadcasting live this morning with Dr. C.J. Mimee, and we're discussing orthopedic manual therapy, which I love, 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 and neuroscience, which I am learning to love because I'm on this journey of learning about this electrical body. Never thought in a million years, Dr. CJ, that I would be the person learning about anything about the body, because it's like when I got out of school, I don't want to read another book. I don't want to have anything else to do with school. And here I am. I can't get enough. Does that come with age?
Well, as we get more body messages, then learning to interpret them, I suppose, is an incentive.
Body messages. I love it. And they're projects. What did you say? They're projects. They're not injuries or damage. They're projects. I love that.
Yes.
Let's go back to our caller to see if she got her questions answered. 773-294. And I wrote her name down. I don't know what I wrote it on. Laurel, thank you so much. Thank you. Did Dr. CJ answer your last question, or did you answer 2 of the questions, or how? You answered all 3. Okay. Okay. Did you have any other?
Yeah, my last thing was I ended up in the hospital for a while just due to inflammation and kind of stress and nerves at the same time, but it just all came together one day. But my thing is that they gave me a drug that was supposed to stop the neuroreceptors into my head or whatever. We stopped all the pain. And so I said, what is this? And it was pretty much a drug, like a narcotic. They called it Dilaudid. My point is that after that, I started studying like sound waves and sound therapy. And I wanted to ask the doctor how she thought about like, I think they call it binaural beats and different things like that as a way to help the healing as well. And that's my last question for today.
Oh, wow. Sound. I love that. Thank you.
Laurel, first of all, I'm so sorry that you went through all of that. I'm happy that you're here and trying to piece it all together. So welcome. So I don't have enough experience with binaural beats and kind of these sound wave modalities. I will say that, so physical therapy is very much like a science-based, evidence-based discipline. However, me personally, if people get relief from these other modalities and from other types of therapy, I'm totally okay with that. So if you feel like you tried it and it works, by all means, keep going. I think in terms of the other types of therapy, as long as it doesn't hurt you, then, and you feel like it helps, keep going. I can imagine that since we're, crazy percentage of water in our body and we respond to the vibrations around us, I'm not against the idea that maybe there is something there. I just don't know the research offhand to be able to fully direct you.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Well, and if you need to contact her after the show, I will post her information on my Facebook page. But if you've got a pen, it's 312-324-0953. And the website is Belona Health, BELONA, BelonaHealth.com. Okay?
Got it. Thank you, Zelda.
Thank you so much, Laurel, for calling. We appreciate that because that was great to hear from a young person. Because when I hear inflammation, my mind automatically says to me that that's an older person. And I don't know how old Laurel is, but she sounded awfully young to me. And that doesn't mean.
No, actually, I'm 43.
That's all.
And I started in 30s, early 30s.
Yeah, that's awfully young. That's awfully young.
Yeah. I was like, hold on a minute, time out. That's young.
Oh, no. You sound like you're about 21 or 22. So yeah, but 40 is still old. Now, I want to ask the question myself to you, Laurel, and maybe Dr. CJ can answer this. How is it that how is it that your body became inflamed at such an early age? Do you know what were the habits that you had that contributed to all of that inflammation in your body, where it became to a point where you needed therapy, and not only physical therapy, but the narcotics, the drugs, to block the signals to the brain? Because can't that be damaging sometime if you keep blocking all those signals that's going to the brain and just relying on the pain pills?
So in terms of damaging, I think the medications can be helpful to allow physical therapy to progress at the beginning. So if somebody's in a huge amount of pain and cannot participate in anything in physical therapy, then that can be helpful at the beginning. The goal, though, is to start weaning down medication and then self-management, increasing self-management tools that you would learn through going through that process with PT.
Would those self-management tools be therapy?
Yeah, so the self-management tools are in the form of self-massage, mobility. I try and avoid using the word exercise because it has a bad connotation, but essentially just like movement things you can incorporate into your daily life. Like we said, in terms of adding it to your routine, so it becomes a normal part of your self-care practice.
Like that. Self-care practice. Not exercise, self-care practice. I like that, Dr. CJ. I like that because it sounds like we have got to trick our brains into believing it's something positive. And so it's like, who wants to exercise? I don't feel like going to the gym, but I do feel like feeling better. And if I like feeling better, I need a new kind of practice. If it's just, turn on the music, dancing, and put a hula hoop on, and
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that adds to the first question that you asked, Laurel. In the physical therapist listening to you, it's important because they will help to, if they are not listening to you, then you can't modify your movements, your exercises. So if your daily routine, like what you just said, Zelda, about, loving to put a hula hoop on and dance, if they learn that about you, and they're like, oh, okay, that's how you're going to get your back mobility. You don't have to do these more structured exercises because I know you're doing that. The only thing we need to modify or add is this other thing. So being able to find somebody that listens to you, there's so many different ways you can get the same thing. I don't see why we're so stuck on, you have to exercise this way, you have to move that way. Like I had a patient last year who did not want to do any formal exercise, and she was a physical therapist. She wanted all of her PT rehab in the form of yoga poses. So I'm a registered yoga instructor. And I was like, this is super challenging for my brain, but why not? So essentially devised her program out of yoga poses to get what she needed. So having somebody that listens to you to get, modify their activities so it fits your lifestyle. So Zelda, what you mentioned before or just now about, how does the body get to that point?
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to hear, Laurel, if you're interested in sharing. You don't have to, though, in public like this. I'll keep talking until you think about what you want to do. So the body is good about compensating until it's that one drop in the system too much, and the body goes, hang on a minute, we need to talk about this. I've been compensating for so many years of my life. I've quite had enough of it. Now we need to figure out how to address it.
Okay. How does that sound, Laurel?
It's good. I wanted to address it because I love when you said earlier, like I'm just get into the body part, and so I found that I take 100% responsibility for everything that I'm dealing with, so I don't have any blame. But the point is, I wasn't taught nutrition in the proper way with home life, Chicago living, being a female trying to hustle. You start doing things, you're eating in the street, and that's where it started for me, where I started coming from eating at home, coming from college, and now you're starting to eat in the street. So I was a Wendy's lover, a Burger King chick. It started to start from there, and then you start getting used to the taste of street food, the MSG, the salt. And so after that, then you start having a neck pain, and don't have a bad boyfriend and the quality of life, and you're not happy. Those things added to it. Okay, so I wasn't, my lifestyle just kept going, and then one day the body said no, but instead of addressing it with something holistic, it became more, okay, popping the leaves, and you keep popping the leaves, and then next thing you know, it was debilitating, so I went on a raw food cleanse. I came back home, and then I started my bad lifestyle again, and then it's like my whole body shut down to where I was, basically I had to get on Social Security, and I'm still in recovery right now. So I was like, I'm 9 years in the inflammation game with just a total breakdown where it started not walking, the neck, but everything started in the neck. And I had a neck stiffness for about 2 years, and I wore a neck brace to work, and I just kept, going through it because this is what you're taught. You being a strong superwoman, you can get beyond anything. So that was my journey. There's many things in between, meditation, but right now it's more so quality of life. And the doctor hit on the biggest thing is self-care, which is like, that was the hardest thing. Learning how to even look at myself and take care of myself has been the biggest challenge in my own life, and allow people to help me as well. So that's kind of a snapshot.
Wow.
Of what happened.
Wow.
Laurel, thank you so much for sharing your story. That must have been challenging. We're so happy to have you on air. 9 years is a long time, but you sound like a really strong person. Good for you. If you had that strength to get this far in this process, would love to chat with you if you're up for it off air at some point. What you just said, like I can't agree anymore, and I don't necessarily have that much more to add. I'm so excited to hear that you're putting together all of the puzzle pieces that go into physical health, like nutrition and the meditation and getting at all of the different factors, which is something that I'm really happy about in physical therapy, that we have enough time with each patient that if you find somebody that's willing to listen properly to you, you can get all of those pieces. It's not just the exercise and the stretching. It's, and headaches are my favorite thing to treat on, one of my favorite things to treat on patients, because it is that full body, like all the systems, how to use your body throughout the day. It's what you eat, how much water you drink, what is your positioning throughout the day, what is your mobility, your strength, your stress levels. How do you address, everybody says like, oh, just, do stress management. It's not that easy. So getting to know somebody and then troubleshooting. So when patients come in, I call it idea generation. So every time they come in, I'm like, I have ideas, but I don't know what your day-to-day looks like. What I might be proposing might be completely unreasonable for your lifestyle. So continuing to go through different options, right? So there's meditation. And if you don't like meditation, I feel like people run away from it so quickly, but there's so many different types and styles within it that if you don't like one, that's totally fine. Try a different type. So going through all of those different factors to address the underlying, because like you said, it's a long process, and I'm really sorry that you went through all of that.
Wow. Okay. Laurel, you have just been therapeutic for all of us this morning. We appreciate you calling in, my dear. Are you in, what city are you in?
I'm here in Chicago, the best city in.
Hey!
You're absolutely right. We Chicagoans, we live here, but we kind of take Chicago for granted. But anytime you go somewhere and you say you're from Chicago, they're like, "Whoa, oh, you're from Chicago, yeah!"
Right,
So yeah, so
right.
we're
Beautiful lakefront.
Yes.
Who could compare this?
There is no comparison. It's just that we don't have enough sun during the year, but we have it today, so we're not complaining. Yes. So thank you so much for calling, Laurel. We've got other callers online. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate that, and may you continue to grow and develop. And thank you for killing the superwoman syndrome in you, because it'll kill you if you let it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. Be sure and contact Dr. CJ at 312-324-0953 if you need her. Let's go to the phone lines. Take another call, Dr. CJ, 773-783. You are live on the Female Solution Grand Rising. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your comment for Dr. CJ?
Hi, I just wanted to say good morning. This is Wendy Williams-Deloach.
Oh, that's Wendy.
Good morning, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising. She's our Thursday morning host.
Good morning, Wendy.
Yes, I'm on Thursday mornings from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. As part of the Female Solution family. And I just wanted to commend you guys on a great conversation today.
Thank you so much.
Good day.
Thank you so much. And you have a better day.
So sweet.
I will.
Thank you. That is our own attorney, Gwendolyn Deloach, who practices family law. And she has a show on Thursday mornings. It is off the chain. I know. That's what I love about the Female Solution broadcast. It's like every show is different, but we build on the wealth of the information from the prior show. That's why I'm in love with this. Like I said before, I work with commercial radio, secular music, but there's nothing like talk when you can get a message out to people that will help people, not just play music. And there's nothing wrong. I love playing music. I'm just not going to DJ here. I'd rather talk to help someone. So thank you for being a guest on the show and for sharing information with our listeners. I'm going to go to the phone line and take another call. Area code 773-671. You are live on the Female Solution Grand Rising. What is your name, where you're calling from, and what is your question or comment for Dr. CJ as we discuss this morning orthopedic, manual therapy, and neuroscience? Hi, who's this?
We don't die, we multiply like power forever. Minister Robert Floyd Plum.
Minister Plum.
Grand Rising to you,
Grand Rising to you too. Wonderful. Thank you so much for calling in this morning. Did you have a question or comment for Dr. CJ?
Yes, I do. First of all, I'd just like to say happy Memorial Day to everybody. I'm a Vietnam veteran.
Oh.
Hey,
All right. Well, thank you for your service. We appreciate you and all that you did and continue to do in the community. Thank you so much.
Right, and then another thing I want to comment because it's a beautiful day. It looks like a zippity doo day. I like to encourage everybody to come on out and join with Sister Naima Latif of the Female Solution out at 341 West 111th Place. It's right past on the Wentworth. It's past State Street going west, and then past Wentworth, and it's on the east side of the tracks. 341 West 100.
Yes, the Pandemic Gardens.
Or the Pandemic Farm, number one. It's nothing like Zelda being number one. And to the doctor, our health is our wealth. And I can feel that in you and in her and in our community. That's what we need. Not only our health is our wealth, but life is, and for everybody to just get on out today and get some of that vitamin D.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know.
Yes.
The vitamin D runs the corona away, keeps the corona away in you and me. Just getting that sunshine is, makes a difference every day. And you feel better. Our health, nobody got enough money to pay for our health. To get that information out of you, there is what they call a home remedy, something that everybody can do, and that is to eat some plump and juicy oranges, and put it in some of the peelings after you eat the orange. Put the peelings in some hot boiling water, and then you steam the water and put some sea salt in there.
Oh.
Now, some people get extreme with it because that makes the inflammation in your nose and in your throat, it comes out. And it's better out. Sickness is better out than in. And I believe that the doctor would agree to that. Sickness is all in your body. You want to get the sickness out by whatever any and all means necessary so that you will feel good.
Do you have inflammation, Minister Plump? Do you have inflammation in your body?
Yes, I do. And that was one of the most important reasons because it comes, I got a sinus problem. So that makes it kind of, especially if I get wet, it's easy for me to get sick. Then that means I got to go to the hospital. And I know that ain't right. I know that ain't good. For me, because and most veterans, have some type of illness. It's just a matter of what it is. I got the inflammation that comes out of my nose. It comes out of my throat. And that's how you keep the sickness out, especially the virus, coronavirus, out of your body. And when you steam that, water, and the water temperature comes up to about 212 degrees, then it kills the virus.
Did you want to comment on that, Dr. CJ? Because, we talked about everything but the coronavirus. A minute before the commercial break.
Sorry, did you say commercial break?
No, we've got a minute before.
A minute. So unfortunately, with my license and scope of practice, I'm not in the position to be commenting on the coronavirus, which is super tempting because my husband is a microbiologist, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about it, but I probably shouldn't. So I'm going to leave that to people that have the letters after the name for that.
And we did talk about your husband being a microbiologist and having him on the show. And I thought he may have been available this morning, but he's not. So maybe we could bring him on another. Or is he available this morning? As we go to a commercial break, maybe you can kind of convince him. Say hi. And if not, we can schedule him another time. It's not a big deal.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, if you just tuned in, it is 8:30. It is time for our last commercial break of the day. If you want to call in and ask a question, 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak, and we'll get right to you.
Hi, I'm Dr. CJ of Valona Health, where we combine orthopedic manual therapy and neuroscience to treat the whole person. Our tip for the day is keep it moving. Doesn't matter how, just keep it moving doing something you enjoy. Walking, dancing, rolling on the floor with your dogs or kids, really anything. The body clears movement, keeps its bones, joints, and the muscles happy. Even our mental health and internal organs and digestive system rely on our movement. Thanks for being a part of the Higher Learning Network, the Female Solution.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif. Join me and my co-host Kareem Hamid every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Female Solution Radio Show, as we explore that relationship that is the foundation for our society, the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. Join our discussion as we seek to repair broken family ties and rebuild our communities. Listen online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in and comment 515-205-9325. Press 1 to speak to our host, or you can join us live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata. About finances, family, health, job, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answer yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down to earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul. Whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, whether it's type 2 diabetes, publish a book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. Take advantage of the deal of the day. Go to ZeldaSpeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's ZeldaSpeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit ZeldaSpeaks.com. Hallelujah, greetings in the spirit of Yah Shalom. Yah means to go on. Yah is Hebrew sacred name for God, and Shalom means I'm Angel MamaDee of Yah, and I'm inviting you to join me every first Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. Wisdom with MamaDee. All in number 515-605-9325. Wisdom, limited spirit daughters of the word separation, and spiritually speaking, men who do the will of God are mothers too. As a monetary educator, author, activist, international world and spirit, and ordained minister, females, I want you to say farewell to all things, seen and unseen, that present your potential. You lead this life and give birth to babies.
A kid is an animal beast with 4 legs. A child is a human being with 2 legs. Facts don't change feelings, but feelings cannot change facts. A mother teaches love. Love is beyond that teaches out and holds the person continues together. That's what wisdom with MamaDee is about. Join me every fourth Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. Calling 515-605-9325 to share your wisdom and love flows with the show. Remember, mother farewell. If you don't, your child won't. And if you doesn't, society disappears. Email, you are the local transformer with the power to change this world. Use it.
Grand Rising, and thank you for joining us back here on the Female Solution, Higher Learning with ZeldaSpeaks. Welcome to Monday Morning Mindfulness. Yes, we're just here to start your week off with the mindfulness stress relief session. In case you were wondering who that voice belonged to, that was the voice of MamaDee, one of the elders on the show. I just love me some MamaDee. I've been hearing about MamaDee for years in the community, and everywhere I went to, and I wanted to say hi and shake her hand, I could never get to her because there were tons of people around her. And then I met her at the transition. One of our female solution hosts, B-Love, made her transition just a little bit over a year ago. And we're sitting in the hospital room with B-Love as she makes her transition, and MamaDee walks in, and I'm like, oh my God, the doors of heaven have opened up. MamaDee live, and I get a chance to sit there with her all day and just talk to her, and the wisdom just flows from her. And I was like, oh my God. I hate to say it, and I'm not going to say it, but B-Love, I am going to say this. B-Love, thank you for being there for us as part of the Female Solution family, and for bringing MamaDee into our lives so that we can all experience her every fourth Saturday from 12 noon until 2 p.m. So thank you, B-Love. Thank you, MamaDee. And thank you, Mama CJ, Dr. CJ.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm really enjoying this. This is so much fun.
And your husband, who's a little on the shy side. Most thinking nerdy people, they are kind of a recluse. They'll give the information, but they're not going to come on and talk about it. So thank you very much. Maybe you can translate whatever he tells you in the near future. We can have you back on and talk about it.
Sounds good.
If you're joining us on Facebook.com/ZeldaSpeaks, we're also on the Higher Learning Network TV show on YouTube, which airs Tuesdays at 6, Wednesdays at 1 on Channel 19. And be sure and join us tomorrow with Maika. Let's talk about it on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we'll have Naima Latif and Kareem Hamid repairing family relationships. On Thursday, Family Matters with Wendy City Deloach, Esquire, who just called in a little bit ago. And on Friday, Health and Wellness with Viata. And the Pandemic Farm today is from 11 a.m. until 1 noon on the Female Solution website page. I'm sorry, it's Facebook.com, the Female Solution. Executive Director Naima Latif. But as we bring this conversation to a close, what is it that you need our listeners and viewers to understand about the process of orthopedic therapy and this neuroscience that we are learning about today?
So the process of, I would say, to schedule an appointment. So in Illinois, we're lucky we have direct access, which means you don't need a script from your PCP or PA or NP or anything. You can actually just show up at clinic, which is awesome. So getting a second opinion and just showing up and saying like, this has been bothering me forever. Come in, let's talk about it. The process itself, so that's more on like the administrative side of the process, I would say. So check your state's policies on it and their laws on it. I know Massachusetts has direct access, Illinois has direct access. So double check yours to see how do you even get into a physical therapist. Being a really good self-advocate for yourself. So if you feel like you've been in pain for a long period of time, you've been trying to manage, whether it's through medication or other things, go to your primary care, whoever it is, and just ask them, hey, can I go to PT? I've heard recently that if you really believe in something that you want and they're refusing to give it to you, you can say, please document refusal in my chart. Which I might get in trouble for saying this, but I mean, you have to be your own advocate. You really absolutely do, because nobody's going to care about you as much as you should care about you. So that's the administrative side. In terms of the actual process, when you come in to your first physical therapy appointment, what we do is we chat for a little bit to get an idea of like, okay, what are the things that we need to look at physically? So once we do, I mean, in most of the, I would say I do an hour and a half of the evaluation, just because I really want to get to know like what makes you tick, not just necessarily like what brought you in today, but like what do you enjoy, like what do you want to do in life, above and beyond. Like once we get rid of pain, like where are we going after that? So talking it out to get the idea of what we're looking at physically. Then you do your physical examination, and then at the end we start talking about like the initial and beginning self-management strategies that will help to bring down symptoms between the first appointment and then the first follow-up appointment. So that would be the first evaluation, giving you like self-massage, some stretching things, some mobility work, whether it's ice heat, depending on your situation, right? I can't give a blanket statement for everybody, but it's essentially you talk, you do physical examination, and then at the end of that same initial appointment, we talk about self-management strategies. I would say the only thing that I would change about physical, I'm absolutely obsessed with physical therapy if it wasn't obvious. The only thing I would change is how long it takes. I wish it could be a quick fix. And sometimes it is. Sometimes people come in. I had somebody a couple of weeks ago come in, excruciating pain, and he emailed me within the week and goes, I feel 80% better, which is amazing. 80% is huge. I wish all of them were like that. So sometimes it's faster like that. Sometimes it takes a lot longer. So if you've been in pain for a long period of time, it's going to take a little bit of time for it to go away, right? We can't do like overnight fixes, which I really wish we could. But follow-up appointments should involve some form of, I mean, I'm a manual therapist, so I really advocate for like the putting your hands on somebody to understand what's happening at each part of the body. At the beginning for my sessions, it's a lot of manual therapy. And then as we get through people's course of PT, it starts decreasing manual therapy to increase self-management strategies, essentially to try out your independence. So can you manage it without having to come in? So the physical therapy philosophy is the second we meet somebody, we are already trying to figure out like, what do you need so you don't need us? And then like holding your hand until you get to that point and weaning down appointments and doing like, once a month checkup or once every 3 months, eventually getting down to once a year checkup. The same way you go to your dentist twice a year, or you go to your PCP once a year for physical, PT is exactly the same way. And actually the American PT Association is trying to push for the once a year checkups with your physical therapist. If they know you and you know each other, you should be able to walk in there and say, hey, look, either this is cranky or nothing is cranky, but I would really, really love to try playing tennis with my friends. I'm getting peer pressured into playing tennis with my friends. Do you think I could do it safely? So there should be that yearly check-in, if that makes sense.
And what is it that made you, because I'm so in love with physical therapy, but I learned my physical therapist story. I always want to know what drew you to the field that you were in. I know my physical therapist story, but I want to know yours. What happened in your life that made you want to go into the field that you're in now?
Thank you for asking. I always forget to offer this. I think it's hilarious. I didn't know what I wanted to do. In my undergrad, I had no idea. In my undergrad, I took an elective. It was like a computer programming class. This guy, every single class, I'm from Montreal, Canada. This guy, every single class walked in, and even though it was computer programming, to emphasize that, he walked in and he was like, you have to go down to Massachusetts to this yoga retreat center and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's literally every class. Finally, at some point during the semester, I'm like, this guy literally keeps talking about it all the time. What in the world is yoga? So I went to my local Y. I'm like, I don't have $3,500 for a weekend retreat yoga, whatever, in I would have to drive 7-8 hours, take a bus and whatever. Anyway, so I went to the local Y, tried yoga. I will say that there are different styles of yoga. So I'll be honest that when I tried gentle yoga, it wasn't for me. So I went the complete other extreme and tried a power yoga class and loved it. Just absolutely loved it. It's very like the breath coordinates with each movement. So each transition is, an inhale, you do this, and exhale, you do that. So going back to the breathing that we did at the beginning with Zelda, I feel so good still from that. When I got through my yoga teacher training, because I wanted to know more, I started teaching. And because I grew up with my grandparents and my brain is very mechanical, I had really good ideas on how to help people because they kept coming over at the end of class and saying like, oh, my shoulder hurts. Oh, my hip hurts. Oh, my this hurts. And it's so tempting because they will look at you and say like, oh, this 4,000-year-old, line of thinking with your yoga train, and putting that together with my mechanics of my brain from my childhood growing up with my grandparents, I thought I could help, but I took a step back and I was like, I can't ethically help you because what if I make a mistake and make things worse? So I stopped teaching and went to PT school for it. I'm like, what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. I've just recently started teaching again. I started last year again for the first time. But it was important to me to take care of people properly. And I was terrified and still am of hurting people, which is why I continue. Like I'm a continuing ed junkie is what I call myself. I really love to continue learning because there is this constant fear, like, well, what if I miss something? And what if somebody comes in and they give me this one clue and I miss something that was important to their overall health? So that's how I guess I ended up in PT.
Wow. Yeah. That's a fascinating story. Speaking of stories, when you talked about being at the center and after the therapy, there's the massage, which I love, and the ice heat after, the ice or the heat afterwards. They always had to, Zelda, the timer went off. It's your time to go now. Can I get 5 more minutes? It is just it's like being at the spa almost.
It can be.
Because I thought physical therapy was for old, dying people. That's what I thought. That's what was in my mind until I get in there and I see all these young people with all these physical ailments. And I was like, this guy's got a 6-pack and, it's hot in the summertime. He's got a T-shirt on. And I was like, what are all these young people doing up in here? And it's like, age has nothing to do with therapy. I learned therapy has taught me so much that you cannot be judgmental because we've been put in a box to think a certain way about a certain type of people who have a certain type of ailment. It is the farthest thing from the truth. So thank you for all the physical therapists in the world. And thank you for all the doctors like yourself, Dr. CJ Mimee, who bring us an enlightened perspective about what orthopedic manual, because I was trying to figure out, I'm like, what the heck is orthopedic manual therapies? Like the same thing I've been taking all day at with my orthopedic therapist. So thank you so very much for enlightening us with that information. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience? Well, we've got a few more calls on here. Area code, I don't know, did I take this code? Area code 708-677. You're live on the Female Solution Grand Rising. Did I take this call already?
Grand Rising, this is Sister Maika.
Maika, thank you. Good morning, Grand Rising.
Yes, and greetings to your guest. Thank you for all the information that you've given. It's been very enlightening. And having a hard time hearing you sometimes, or understanding what you're saying to the doctor. But every once in a while I get a word in that I really understand, but I'm really interested in what you're doing. Okay. And I want to invite your guests and your listening audience to join Mama Joy tomorrow. Mama Joy Sabur-Ramsey will be taking my show tomorrow. Let's talk about it with Maika. That's Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And the topic is securing the blessing of liberty. And and she's going to go in depth into her research over a 2 to 3 year period on the background information on the Emancipation Proclamation and those who were involved in it, to where she came to an understanding of the spiritual significance of the Emancipation Proclamation. So you don't want to miss this. This is just amazing what she was able to pull out through her spiritual quest and journey. That's tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on the Female Solution.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Micah.
Right, thank you.
Let's talk about it with
Continue
Micah.
with the good work, Zelda.
Thank you, and thank you. And Dr. CJ, we couldn't have done it without her, because without her, I don't know. I can just tell you I love therapy, but that doesn't help you any. So what are some self-care practices that one can do at home if they are experiencing any type of body messages?
So as a blanket statement, so it's difficult to answer the question without knowing like a specific condition. But overall, I would say like self-massage, the way I describe it in clinic is it's a game. It's self-massage, strengthen, because when you do a little bit too much of the strengthening, the body gets maybe a little more sore than it's supposed to, and then you do self-massage, and then you do strengthening, and then you self-massage. So I call it a game. So it's kind of a back and forth between those two things. Self-care is really good topic because it's not just the physical things that we do to our body, but it is how we move about our daily lives, right? So it's how we treat ourselves at every moment in the day, what we allow ourselves to experience stress-wise, what situations we put ourselves in, what food we feed ourselves. Self-care can be as simple as, not as simple, but as straightforward as going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every night can also be self-care. It's not just how many hours we are sleeping, but having a good schedule so the body knows, oh, okay, around 10, 11 o'clock, I wind down. I should expect to be asleep. I wake up again 7 to 8 hours later. Because stress in the body is not just, our physical stress with movement or with, interrelationship stress, but stress can also be the body not knowing, when am I going to be allowed to repair and rest today? Right? So giving the body expectations and saying, body, you should expect to be fed at this time, this time, this time. You should also expect to be allowed to rest and repair at this time to this time. So that's a way of addressing stress and managing self-care at the same time. Is that confusing?
No. You talked about eating at this time, and this time. Have you found in your practice that some of us eat unnecessary meals and how that contributes to the decline in our physical well-being?
So one of the things I guess we haven't necessarily come around to talking about today is the relationship between our organs and our body inside to our pain perceived outside, right? So whether in our arms, legs, whatever. If your gut is unhappy, it can relay pain to your back, and your back can relay pain into the gut, for example. So if we have certain situations where like you're eating a meal and certain types of food cause certain body messages, that's something really good to bring into your physical therapist and be like, I've noticed this. What does it mean? So in terms of eating unnecessarily, that's a hard question because sometimes we get messages of hunger when we've ignored the message of thirst for a long period of time. So your body's going to go, hey, look, I'm thirsty. I need water. I need water. I need water, until the point where you ignored enough that you're like, fine, I'm hungry. And then you go to satisfy the hunger. So drinking water is a really good way of keeping what you mentioned before in terms of flexibility. And as we mature and use our bodies throughout our lifetime, we lose content of water in our body. So drinking a lot more water can help with the flexibility and the pliability of our muscles. But it can also address what you're describing of I get so many messages of thirst, I ignore them so many times, the body's like, fine, I'm hungry. To get something, right? as an
I'm
example.
glad you said that, because I had a nutritionist tell me that a guy by the name of Rob Stevens, who weighed like 500 pounds and he got down to like 150. And that's
Oh,
the
my.
first thing that he said. I forgot the name of his book, but Google Rob Stevens. And he said, the first time that you are hungry, remind yourself that you're really not hungry. Your body's telling you that you're thirsty. You go to eat something and you're really not hungry. So you just wasted calories. And
Yeah.
I began to practice, which makes me drink a whole lot more water. And if you, in an hour later, if you're still hungry, then you're hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not thirsty.
Right.
You're hungry. But we've been so conditioned to think that whenever that signal growls that we're hungry, we're not. We're thirsty. So thank you for acknowledging that. We've got about 2 more minutes, and I want you to have those last 2 minutes.
Okay. So something that I would love for listeners to know is that physical therapy is not just muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments, all that stuff. If you come in and bring us all of the puzzle pieces, we are supposed to be able to diagnose whether or not you are appropriate for physical therapy. So I'll give you a small, scary example. I thought it was going to take decades to be able to get to this point, but 5 months out of school a couple years ago, I caught early congestive heart failure in a patient. Not because I was able to look at her heart and say, oh, this is the condition, but I was able to look at her constellation of symptoms, which was, left foot swelling more than right foot. She had the rigid posture, voice was hoarse without the same lung sounds. I was listening to her lungs with a stethoscope. She had pain lying on her left side versus the right side. And then, I couldn't make her pain worse or better by doing my physical assessment. And all of these things put together with a couple other things I didn't mention led me to believe there was something going on with her heart. Obviously, I don't have x-ray vision, so I sent her back to her PCP. She came from her PCP with a script that said back pain. I sent her back to the PCP with the write-up of, these are the symptoms I'm concerned about. So anybody that would have looked at that list of symptoms would have said, let's check the heart. So we caught early congestive heart failure on the patient. So PT is a really good starting point because we won't keep you if you're not supposed to be here. We will help send you to where you need to be.
Wow, that's powerful. You've got another minute if you need it. So when you hear me play the music in the background, just keep talking. You got another minute, okay?
Okay.
All you need to get in.
Gotcha. So that's something that I was really surprised about in physical therapy schools, that it is a lot more medical than you would expect, right? Bones, tendons, ligaments, muscles, all that stuff sounds like it could be a short degree and you learn it and you move on, but there is so much more than that, knowing which organ refers commonly to which part of the body. So if somebody comes in with shoulder pain and I can't figure out making it worse or better with my hands or their movements, then you start thinking like, oh, okay, liver, spleen, gallbladder, like what part of the body is giving you the message, but is not necessarily the root cause. So it is very medical, a lot more medical than people think, which is why when you come in, there's extensive paperwork because we don't want to be negligent. We don't want to miss something. We spend so much time with patients, which is a huge luxury and a benefit to you. It's a luxury for us because we feel like we can actually help. The more information we can pry out, which is hard because when you come in, you're like, oh, my knee hurts. Why are you asking me about my back pain? It's all related. And it's important that we understand everything to make sure that we're not being negligent. We're not preventing you from getting the care that you need if you need to go back somewhere else. So I would say that's the most common thing when people come in and they're like, well, there's a lot of paperwork. Why do I have to answer all these questions? Can't you just fix my knee? Can't you just fix my back pain? It's like, well, I need to understand your whole body and what brought you to this point. And are you appropriate to stay, or should I be encouraging you to find a provider that is more appropriate for your situation?
And I love the fact that you spend time with patients, because when you go to the doctor, you're lucky if you get 5 minutes.
And that's a system issue. And I was thinking about it before our show today. It's a healthcare system issue. So I've had patients that are PCPs and they're frustrated because their facilities are forcing them to only spend 5 minutes maybe with a patient. And that's how you end up. I received the script that said back pain because that's all they had time to do. They didn't have time to be like, well, have you traveled recently? Why are your feet swollen? Why is your back like this? Why I can't make, you know what I mean? There's so many things that they are unable to look at, which is why we have a doctorate level now. It's not a bachelor's, it's not a master's. We are doctors of physical therapy because we need to identify scary things that might mean we need to send you somewhere else. And at the end of the day, healthcare, there is no ego in healthcare. There should be no ego in healthcare. So we need to be able to say, if I'm not the person to take care of you, I know where you should go.
The show's off the air, but we're
Coming
not
up.
off the air. The Female Solutions. Actually, no, we're not off the air. It gives us a grace of 15 minutes. So anything else you want to say? But I did want to comment on what you said. That's why you do the whole body analysis of being on the show. And I know you've got a funeral, your grandmother's funeral to go to today.
Sorry.
What's Granny's name? What was Granny's name?
Katarzyna.
Katarzyna.
Yeah.
The spirit of Katarzyna is with us this morning, and we thank Miss Katarzyna.
Thank you.
Husband, and we thank you. Any final thoughts you want to give to our Facebook listeners and viewers, or Instagram viewers, who are YouTube viewers, who are watching this morning? Any last thoughts you want to give them?
So remember to go to apta.org/findapt to find somebody in your local area. If you want help picking one out, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm in Illinois. I just moved from Massachusetts and from Boston in September, so I'm very familiar with that area, but I'm happy to go through the website with you if you need help picking somebody out. And let me know if you have any questions that we can talk about maybe next time.
And who does that? What doctor do you know says, I will go to any website and help you find the best one for you? I didn't know they existed. So thank you, Dr. CJ.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast today.
It shows that you are more concerned with the patient than with all of this. All of this meaning the system in your pocketbook. Of course, you're concerned with your pocketbook. It's kind of like Granny, don't it? Yeah, but you're more interested in the whole body of the person. And thank you for reminding me or letting me know that I am already a participant of neuroscience, because during my training for pain relief, I had to go see a psychologist. And I'm like, why am I going to see a psychologist? I'm in pain. My head don't hurt, my ankle hurts. And I discovered that there was a program that she gave me that I practiced at home. And I loved it so much because I was sharing it with other people. And my girlfriend said, you need to do something to help other people who can't afford to go to therapy. So I developed the innovative mindfulness breakthrough system, 4 easy steps to mindfulness. And it's a 4 CD program. And the first one it's on my website and it's free. Go to ZeldaSpeaks.com, and please go to ValonaHealth.com, where you can see Dr. CJ Mimee. Thank you so much, Dr. CJ.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate you. Tell your husband thank you for allowing you to stay. Well, not allowing you, but thank you for staying over a few minutes, because I know you have to go to Granny's funeral today.
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, stay tuned to your next higher learning with Zelda Speaks and Dr. Mimee, because she's coming back soon right here on the
Definitely.
All right. Thank you so much. Make it a great day. And thanks for watching. Be sure and like and share this video. Namaste.